Good afternoon, everyone. Kindly confirm in the chat box if you can hear me. Thank you. Thank you for that. We have another couple of minutes before we start. Welcome for now to coaching in virtual era. All right, it's 3 p.m. and we are good to go. Thank you very much for being on time. So coaching in virtual world is today's session. My name is Anand Dewan. A little more about me as we go forward. For now, coaching is brought to you by Inside Out in India. And the topic we're looking at is coaching in virtual world. BYLD is the organization that has been bringing these webinars to you in the last 2 months. And some of the names globally that we represent in India, like Business Today, Persona Global, Inside Out Coaching, Vital Smarts, Ken Blanchard. 21 years of operation in India, present across the country, over 70 facilitators, more than 1,200 clients since 1997. Cross sectors. So that's a bit about taking the liberty of a little bit of advertisement there so that it doesn't come during the session and you have complete viewership on the content which is brought to you here. My name is Anand Dewan. While I'm not into webinars or training, I manage the businesses group CEO, also part of the founding team. Split experience between managing on the client side in sales, marketing, heading learning and development functions of the corporate world, and currently managing the business across BYLD Group. I will be your facilitator for the next 1 hour on today's topic. So coaching in the virtual world, which is suddenly, without any heads up, without any intervention, virtually got across all around us and changed the way we lived our personal and professional lives. So agenda for today, coaching can be the game changer. Guidelines for effective virtual coaching, tips for planning and navigating conversations. That's what we would experience during the session. Let's start with the first one. Let me go to the poll. Invite your responses. Here is the first poll on your screens. What percentage of your employees, I hope you're able to see the poll on your screens. I'm launching it now. What percentage of your employees worked remotely pre-COVID? Can you put your responses there, please? What percentage? 10, 20, 80%, 20%. Okay, we have about 50% people voted. We have about 63 of us there. I will give it another a minute or so for us to finish this. Okay, requesting if you could participate in the poll so we get a sense of how has been people's experience. Okay, and there are your results. I hope you can see the results on your screen. So we have majority of the people saying 10 or under 10% of their people were working from home pre-COVID. So for 90% of the people, this would be an absolute sea change, something they would have not experienced before. And I look at the other numbers, which are marginal of 20%, 5%. So give or take, less than, we can go in a figure of 25 to 30% of our workforce possibly have experienced work from home. Rest of the workforce has not experienced work from home. I hope you can see the full screen now as I move to the second poll, which is what percentage work remotely now? During the COVID period, I'm launching the second poll now. What percentage of people currently work out of home for you? 90%, 90%, 90%, 40%, 60%, 70%. So it's virtually getting close to reverse of what we were. If I can see the lead indicators at my end, it's literally a reverse of pre-COVID and after COVID. And like I said, it completely overturned the way we were working and doing our business. Few responses to come in. Would really appreciate if you can participate in the poll, please. Requesting all to participate. Another 10 seconds and I end the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay, so here are the results. Majority of the people are saying 90% of their workforce currently works from home, or plus 90%. If I were to take an average also, it comes to pretty much close to about 82% of the workforce working out of home, which has completely changed for us in terms of managing, leading, and coaching, for them in terms of their day-to-day working lives. Okay. Now, how does virtual coaching come in and where is it important? We'll discover this as we go along the journey. So one word that will remain with you and you look at it very differently is what appears on your screen. It is unprecedented interference. Interference, not the way we know it in traditional English. What I mean by interference here is anything that blocks further progress. So for example, I am busy working and I have some noise coming in from my children's room, interference. I'm busy working, my boss calls me to say, Anand, we haven't spoken in the last few days, why don't you call me at 6 o'clock today evening? Interference. Because part of my mind is now occupied, why did my boss call me? What is it that he wants me to talk about? I haven't met him, I'm working from home, hope everything is okay, hope there is no bad news. It's an interference created. Maybe end of the day in the evening, he still tells me, Anand, you've been doing a brilliant job. I've been reading your mails. I saw some of the suggestions. Very good. Keep it up. But till the time I reach there, till the time evening happens, it's caused an interference. And similarly, different nature of, so unprecedented interferences when you work from home, vis-a-vis when you work from office, because mentally you're in a different environment, you see people all around you, you interact, everything is happening in an environment which facilitates. Currently, everything is happening in an environment which doesn't facilitate, but possibly may come in the way. So it has totally changed the lives, not just for us, but all team members and everyone around us. Okay. And amongst them, few fears that have also got turned upside down. Typically, employees on a workplace have certain inherent fears that happen, is a sense of control over what they are doing, how they are doing, feedbacking, a sense of security and safety in the environment, even if they are facing a challenge. But if they're at the workplace, there is a sense of security and safety around because there's a constant connect. They're able to have corridor conversations. They're able to see what other team members are doing, what's happening in the organization. There is a connect. And of course, the judgment, how other people perceive them in meetings, post meetings, all of that is happening. But in current times, two biggest fears that have caused interference for them is safety and control. And of course, judgment continues to be there. But two big fears that sit right at the top is their safety, of obviously what future holds for them, and of course, fears around how much are they really in control. They really don't know how are they progressing, where are they progressing, and uncertainties and interferences caused due to this in their minds. So, to define coaching for the purpose of this session, so we are all on the same page, and this is how you will see. Traditionally, we have known coaching is, Monday morning I have a schedule of coaching one of my team members. This week I'll pick 2 members and coach. This is not at all like that. Read my lips. This is not the coaching the way we understand coaching. And I am making a very big assumption here. Allow me to do that, please, because invariably, 9 on 10 people I interact about coaching, the view on coaching is something that is predetermined, something that is not spontaneous, something that cannot be used in all conversations, something that you do separately as an activity within or apart from your leadership role. This is not that kind of coaching. What we mean here is the practice of helping others make decisions, commit to actions, and deliver results. This kind of coaching we virtually do in every conversation, as you would see in a second from now. So it is not coaching conversations. It is, as a leader, bringing coaching in all conversations. So coaching, not coaching conversation, but coaching in conversations, which means every conversation I have with my team members, I can sense, see an opportunity and leverage it to make it a coaching conversation. As we get on to the types of these conversations, you will see what kind of an amazing difference this brings in to the whole aspect of leadership engagement, and more so in the virtual era. It is suddenly, for those of us who choose to experience this, delve a little deeper on this concept of coaching in conversations, it will be probably the most handy tool available to you in managing remotely as well as managing on-site as well. So it's even more important, see your people as capable, ask more than you tell. These are certain fundamentals around the way we look at coaching. Support the person and the work, use tools to keep on track. Some of the important aspects when we look at remote virtual coaching, first thing is that, face it, at times when I don't see a report that is giving me a full day's outlook, if I don't see movements which I expect in my mind should have been better than what I see, there are certain moments where I tend to begin that, is the capability being used? Would this person be able to adapt to a work from home environment? Am I really getting a complete output from this particular resource that I have in my team? But the first mindset that needs to shift from there is, I see my people are capable. If they are not delivering, and this is a real orientation and shift in mindset that needs to happen, is first question yourself as a leader when you don't see the output which is desired as per your expectation. Am I able to bring out what their real caliber is? So when I see reports and data and I'm not happy, the first thing I would want to ask myself is, am I really able to bring out the best from them? They're working remotely. I have no touch. Am I doing the right thing? Instead, invariably what happens if we begin to question, is the person really capable? The mindset that will be helpful here is to look at that, am I really getting that? Am I able to bring out the best? Because people are capable, it's a given. Nothing changes from work from home, or nothing changes in challenging situations. The capability is there, that's why they are where they are. The other piece is the typical leadership tendency to tell more than what they ask. It's easiest to solve a problem for someone, and believe you me, to some of the leaders, it also gives a thrill. Let me solve it. Here comes my opportunity to own my leadership hat and provide you a solution. Whereas, if you teach the person to fish, you probably feed him for life rather than feed a person with a solution. So, and that solution and ability to discover the solution will only come in basis the question you would ask. One thing I keep telling my leaders is, in Google era, you are valued more because of the questions you ask, not because of the answers you provide. Because answers are there in the Google world. Your question should make people think, and go explore the answers. That is what will add value to them, not the answers you provide, because they'll be forgotten easily. You may even forget what did I say on the first and second slide. But the questions that I will answer for you will stick a lot more. The questions that I will ask you, would stick a lot more longer in your mind to generate an answer that satisfies you. Support the person at work. There is a difference between governance and management. While we manage, we'll try to see how much output are we getting. If I am on a governance mode, I will create a structure around it which facilitates productivity and brings me the desired work. Work from home and coaching virtually is more about a governance mechanism than management. You really can't manage. When you can't see, when you have things beyond your control, when you don't have a constant interaction and they're in a different environment, how much can I really manage? But can I govern? Yes. My governance model can sit across to ensure that it facilitates and gets me what I really want as an output from the team. Use tools to keep a track. And tools here I refer to as governance tools, which you can create. Also tools that come as part of, for virtual coaching, you will see that everything that we talk about comes with a backup tool that supports the interaction in the virtual. That brings me to poll 3. What are your challenges with coaching virtually? Here is poll 3 that I'm going to launch now. The poll is already there. Request for your responses. What are your challenges with coaching virtually? And this is multiple choice. Less in touch with day-to-day activity, don't know how to coach virtually, schedule disruptions, more common in work from home situation, texting, chat, lack of time. Okay, while I get the results of the poll, I saw a question which talks about coaching and counseling. If this was a classroom session, I would have chosen to answer it towards the end, but just to put that counseling interference at rest, and I mean interference in the most positive sense, the way I explained it earlier. You coach for skill and you counsel for will. Keep that basic difference in mind always. You have to make a choice which tool to use when. You coach for skill, you counsel for will. You have to make a judgment. I hope that answers your question on differentiating between coaching and counseling. I saw that. Coaching on your team members differently. These are two different things, and I have answered that. Thank you very much for your participation in the poll. And here are our results. Let us see what the audience is saying. Highest is scheduled disruptions, more common in work from home situations. Absolutely, I can see that with experience, something that we will need to, at some point in time, recognize and live with in the new normal. You can't wish this away, because we have suddenly taken an office space in someone's home. I see it that way. The home was never meant to be an office, and we need people to work out of home. So the scheduled disruptions from children, from the environment around, maybe some people don't even have a quiet corner, maybe someone else is also working at home. This is integral to the new normal. In fact, when we are holding internal meetings and conversations, we do not acknowledge those disturbances or tell people to mute. They understand, and when they need to, they do. But if they are communicating and let's see there are background noises, we've learned to live with those distractions, because end of the day, the people cannot shut down what is also happening parallel. So, of course, if something becomes absolutely destructive to the process, you may want to reschedule the meeting or others, but certain amount of those disruptions in the new normal, we will need to learn to live with. Less in touch with day-to-day activities, the next one, absolutely. All the more reason why coaching plays, and coaching in all conversations plays a very integral role. And as I talk about coaching conversations, you will realize how beautifully it fits into the required situation, texting, chat, long distance. So all of that builds a more stronger case Why? Whatever conversations, because you're not easily accessible, nor can you constantly be in touch. So that how do you leave maximum impact through your touch points whenever you touch base, so that it has long lasting, directional and actionable impact on team members? That should be my objective from the outcomes in my virtual coaching conversations. Virtual coaching guidelines. Build and keep a schedule. So people are mentally prepared, they are ready to respond. At workplace, they can still buy time and come back. But virtually, you don't want to be reinvesting time again and again. So if people know they have to adhere to a schedule, it works much better. To give you an example, internally, we follow a 9 o'clock meeting for half an hour every day for the last 40 days. Sorry, excluding Saturdays and Sundays. So every working day, 1 hour, half an hour in the morning, a quick check-in conversation. How's the day place, where somebody needs help. After that, I may choose to engage individually with people as well, but that half an hour is good enough for people to get going and get into the frame of mind. So it's become a routine. Another piece here is putting those cameras on, because there's a lot, as a voice can say something, but the camera would give you the emotions, the expressions, and also get people to be a little more sorted and ready for the day. We've all seen a lot of WhatsApp jokes floating around this. So one of the suggestions we make from a virtual coaching point of view is cameras are great. It doesn't take bandwidth, by the way. Zoom has done enough research, and we have tested this with at least 100 odd people with cameras on, and we haven't seen much of a challenge. 100 at one go. So even if all of you choose to switch on your cameras right now, it will not impact on the bandwidth. But it's just the mental framework which says camera is going to take more bandwidth, therefore I must switch off. It has not had any impact. I'm not technically qualified to say why, but it doesn't have an impact. It's out of my experience. Be curious about more than just products. Just to keep it business-like, and with this long distance, is going to cause, and I'm going to deviate a little and step out of the course content here. Human relationships are like what are pretty much similar to financial transactions. You deposit and you withdraw from your deposit. Similarly, with people also, you have emotional deposits and you have withdrawals. So when it is very business-like, there is chances of an imbalance happening there. So personal conversations, going a little out of the context as well, is okay thing to do. What we call as light banter at the workplace. So some amount of those conversations are good to let people be at ease, be themselves, and also, connect just beyond the work. Because, when you connect at workplace face to face, by default, we tend to have those conversations, or people have those conversations otherwise. But when you are having a remote connect and you make it very, very business-like, that human touch which we call, and that human touch which is keeping all of us secure from AI taking over the world and machine learning coming in, is very, very important, because that's one significant value we as human beings bring to the party. And that must work even in the virtual world. So be curious about going into individuals. I'm not saying getting into personal lives, but it's okay to move a little beyond the agenda and have light banters, conversations. Don't be just business-like. Okay? Expect interruptions, like I said a while ago. In the new normal, they are going to be integral. We can't wish them away. Honor and celebrate human movements. We have a very small thing that it started. One of the days we were just looking back as to, what's really happening, how are we moving forward, and we realized we discovered something called as the big win for today. A big win is nothing but, maybe I was trying to go for an appointment, a virtual appointment with someone, and I cracked it today. I was trying to make a project work for me, and the presentation, I was getting stuck. I was not getting the right ideas. But today, I'm able to make some significant moves on the presentation. I was assigned a task for an internal survey, and we finished that. We call that as big wins for the day. And everyone shares it the next day morning. What has been my big win? It's a small celebration, not that we cut a cake or we clap. It's just a good feeling. And you have to be continuously innovative with this. One thing over a period of time but lose its ability to engage. So we need to move beyond. Use technology to stay connected. Of course, beyond the virtual world, there are small WhatsApp groups as well. Of course, emails continuously work. So although other technology aspects are anyway available, the other things that we need to really find out, and coaching plays a very, very significant role, is watch out for burnouts. Because of half an hour, 1 hour screen, people will be good at putting the mask, but they may use certain words, they may use certain tones, which should ring a bell. So the observation for leaders and also as team members need to be at the maximum level of frequency to pick up those waves from team members on the other side, where you see sense of trouble, sense of burnout, sense of stress, and you need to engage differently. There are times and moments where during interaction, one may tend to get a little unhappy with what you are seeing as a report. Those are the times to be extremely cautious of one's own emotions, control them, because at workplace, in a real environment, we still have a go and have an opportunity to undo. But in the virtual world, you leave the footprints behind. Even if it's of your emotion, you leave the footprints behind. Last week, I had a conversation with a team member wherein I thought I was my controlled normal self while we were doing progress meeting. For me, the meeting ended and I thought it had went off well. We discovered patches that needed to be fixed. But next day morning, the person called me to say he wants to speak with me. Sure, go ahead. We blocked half an hour separately. Called up to say he had a very disturbing previous evening, and that disturbance was noticed by his family as well. In fact, he ended up his wife having a conversation with him, and as a result of that, he decided that he needs to pick up a conversation with me. And I was completely taken aback because I didn't know where it is coming from and why is it coming with such a high speed intensity of emotion. And it turned out that during the conversation, because of the tone and questioning, which is very, very normal when I do reviews, but because it was the virtual world, he felt a little uncomfortable and emotionally unstable, and that went back to his home. I felt like I should be hanged. The sense of guilt that it brought in, that, I could have been more guarded at that point in time. One knew the skill, and you also in burnt out, instead of using the skill route, fell into a situation which caused this possible damage. But as human beings, all of us prone to mistakes and learn. That was a very strong feedback, given in the lightest manner possible, for one to know that, how things done in the same manner have a different impact when the medium changes. And in the virtual world, that medium has changed and can have a different impact altogether. Now, as I get into conversations which will facilitate, I have built a lot of case around the virtual world in that sense, that what it is, what is the animal that we are dealing with, and what are the challenges. Now, I'm going to come closer towards more of a solution-oriented part of it as to what are the things that we can really do differently and to get desired results. However, quick 2 minutes in case there are any questions that you have at this point in time. Ranjit, who's my producer as well and a team member, if you have any questions that have come in, which we can address right now, I'll take a minute of pause and then we'll move on to the next part of the session.
At the moment, there are 2 questions.
So you want to share what the question is?
Yeah, Ron's question: how is coaching relevant in the virtual world wherein we don't have the time?
So I think partially I've already answered, because coaching is not something that you take out time for. Coaching is not something that you have a separate conversation. It is coaching in conversations, which means even in less time, I'm sure you're engaged with the team and you're having conversations. It is how can you bring coaching to those conversations. It is not about having separate conversations on coaching. Your conversation itself will become coaching conversation, is what we learn in the next part of the session. Yeah, Ranjit, any other question?
We are good to go. I don't, till the time if anyone asks They can ask the question now or they can type in.
So we had a minute. I normally say, when all is well, there are no questions, or when all is well, all is in the well, there are no questions. I am assuming here all is well, and therefore there are no questions. So I will continue with this session. Okay, thank you for all your attention. Let's move forward. So we classify 4 types of conversations. And in a moment from now, you would see that you already are having these conversations. Any conversation, and as I speak, I invite you to look back specifically at the last 40 days or from the day we started work from home at the conversations you've been having with your team members. Conversations where you discuss on what kind of progress that needs to be made, where you discuss goals and objectives for, let's say, 1 week, 1 day or 2 days, where you discuss what kind of outcome are we driving with your team members, or conversations which are typically enabling them towards what they want to achieve during the week are called breakthrough conversations, or support progress. Those are breakthrough conversations. And if you recall, you would have had enormous such conversations already. Any conversation that accesses progress on a previously agreed goal, task, objective is a check-in conversation. Any conversation which is on providing feedback on how people are doing, how is their progress, is there any area that they need to do differently? And once again, my assumption, we would be doing these conversations even currently. So out of 4, 3 conversations you are already doing with your team members. What may happen differently today is I would share a structure to make these conversations more effective. Alignment conversations, gaining agreement from your team members. We all decide that we are working towards a common task, but in the due course and process, people tend to drift a little for various interferences. Remember the interferences that we spoke about? Anything that blocks further progress. And there are enormous such interferences when people work from home, which may deviate them from an agreed outcome, goal, objective that they're supposed to try. So when you get them back on alignment, those are called alignment conversations. So we are already doing these kind of conversations. And your structure of conversations, let us say when we talk of check-in, is to access progress, provide helpful perspective, support progress, gain agreement, or get onto the same page. Check-in conversation, what's the goal? To access progress. How much have we progressed on agreed goal? Typical way, and I invite you, 30 seconds, just close your eyes and listen to what I'm saying. I invite everyone to please close your eyes for 30 seconds and answer these 3 questions. Okay. What is working? Where are you getting stuck? What might you do differently? Close your eyes, look at the last 40 days, ask yourself what is working for you in these 40 days. Where are you getting stuck? What might you want to do differently? Just these 3 simple check-in questions will do a mini performance conversation with your own self. Because you will not write that I am responding to mails, I am always there available on the phone, I am talking to my team members. You will have to really write what have been your big wins, what have been your progresses. And as you answer these 3, it will just give you your own mini appraisal. Power of check-in questions. We talked of structure. How can you make these? So for this, you don't need to set up a Zoom meeting. You don't need to set up a separate conversation. In your regular conversation, as a starter, one can check in and see how is the team doing. So what's working? Where are you getting stuck, if at all? And what might you want to do differently? Power of right questions in the process of virtual coaching. Let's look at this through a video as well.
I am late. I don't have a ton of time, so let's get.
I hope audio is for everyone. Let's go ahead.
Oh, hey, Greg.
Audio
Hey,
is not there.
late. I don't have a ton of time, so let's get to it. How's it going?
Audio is not there, Ranjit?
It's going okay.
One second.
Anand.
Audio is there.
Okay.
Audio is there, right?
Okay, then my audio is problem. Thank you.
Sorry, these things do happen.
So,
Oh, hey, Greg.
hey, sorry I'm late. I don't have a ton of time, so let's get to it. How's it going?
It's going okay.
So, what's going on with your projects right now?
The sales presentation is going okay.
No,
The website revamp is trending behind schedule, and I'm just beginning to work on the outline for the demo.
Okay, anywhere that you're stuck?
I just told you about the website.
Right, sorry. What would you like to do differently?
Well, because we're behind on the website, I'm gonna call a meeting with the team and see if we can't figure out how to compress this sprint to get that phase done on time.
Cool. Looks like you got a plan. Hey, sorry, one last thing. I just barely sent over an email. It's a big project and I'd love your help if you could get to it today. Can you just set up a meeting for us to talk about it more?
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks for always being willing to help.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we'll see you.
See you, Greg.
Okay, would love to see some quick comments. Was this a good conversation? Not so good conversation? Is this the right way to do a check-in conversation? Anything that stood out? No. Okay, not a good conversation. Not a good conversation. Okay, so you can't be late. First of all, you have no reason. There is no traffic to get to the computer for your call. You need to be prepared. Your conversation needs to start with an upbeat thing. You cannot afford to be allowing interferences to come in and doing something else at that point in time. So in all of that sense, it wasn't a good conversation. We all can see this. Simple conversation, but all of us were quick to pick up what's not right. Let us look at another coaching conversation and see if this time it's happening any better.
Bethany, are you on?
Hey, Greg, I'm here.
Hey, do you have access to your camera?
Yeah, let me turn that on 1 second.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Cool. Thanks for sending over your talking points
Sure.
and adding those to the agenda. Before we get to those, can we just do a quick check-in?
Sure.
So overall, what's working?
The outline for the demo is in a good spot, and the sales presentation as well. I'm just finishing up the closing section of that, so that should be ready for review soon.
Okay. What else is working?
Oh, the files for the pilot program were handed off yesterday, which was a big win for us.
That is awesome. Congrats. I know you worked hard on that.
Thank you.
Where are you getting stuck?
Well, the website revamp project is a little bit behind. I was supposed to have files out for review, and we have not done that yet.
What might you do differently?
I'm thinking I need to pull a team together and discuss how we adjust the next sprint. Also, I need to talk to the developers and the stakeholders and communicate the review cycle and see if we can adjust that to meet their needs and ours.
Okay, so it sounds like you're going to pull the team together and look at the next sprint, and then discuss with the stakeholders and developers to see if there's any wiggle room on extending that.
On the review
cycle, yeah. Would it be helpful to talk through that further?
I don't think so. I think that's a pretty solid plan. And after we finish this meeting, I'll jump in and get those people engaged.
Okay, Sounds like you're all set.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, would it make sense to now look at our plans for conference?
Okay. Quick responses. How was the second conversation? What stood out for you? In your chat box, please. Attentive, encouraging, says Aman, more structured, fully engaged, fully focused, encouraging conversation, listening, Ravi. Yes, absolutely. Engaging, positive. All right. So we did see the difference between
For next year?
Yeah. Let's.
The first one and the second one. And we also, I'm sure, observe the power of such
do that.
quick check-in questions. These conversations can be short, tight, use online tools to support check-in at least weekly. If, I mean, in my case, or some cases people do it every day, but certainly weekly check-ins is one definite advice. When interference is high, you need to check in more often. So there is no definitive, you must do it daily, you must do it weekly, you must do it alternate days. It totally depends on what is the task on hand and how often one may need to do a check-in. For example, if you have a very, very important presentation to be made in the evening, you may decide to do twice during the day or thrice during the day, depending on where it's being made. You have an ongoing project, you might decide alternate days, or maybe once in a week, just depending on what the task on hand is. But it's powerful, quick, and easy way. The other one is feedback conversation. I did hear someone say that feedback should acquire a much larger space. Well, more than that, I would invite you to look at the essence of what we want to achieve. Okay? And essence here is for a person to be able to act on what he would ideally want. Check-in is a way to take a dipstick to understand are things, what they say is inspect what you expect. So check-in is my opportunity to inspect what I expect. And if that inspection is not going in the right direction, I may need to get into a feedback conversation, which is again pretty small. Or I may get into an alignment conversation, which may be a little lengthy, which is to align the person back on the task. Let's look at what is the goal and to provide the perspective in feedback conversation. So feedback is what worked, which means in the presentation that you made, task assigned to you, what is it that worked? Where did you get stuck? What might you do differently? And after the task has been completed, people share what has worked from them. In both of these cases, one of the key differences here is even in a feedback situation, what we recommend as part of virtual coaching conversation framework is instead of you giving feedback, you would like to ask the person to go first. So let's say Ranjit. Ranjit, what really worked for you in terms of putting this webinar together? Ranjit is basically the producer and also the person who heads the practice for coaching in India, who's behind this webinar. So let's say if I have to do this conversation with him, so Ranjit, where did you get stuck? And what might you do differently next time? Thanks for sharing what you shared, Ranjit. Are you okay if I share some of my observations with you? That is the structure that we adopt when it comes to the virtual coaching framework of feedback conversations. Similarly, if the task is done, here is what I thought worked, Ranjit. Here is where I felt you got stuck. Here is what you may want to do differently. So one is where I first allow the person to empty their glass and then I fill in with what I have to share. This makes, I'm sure a lot of us would know or have heard about this technique, but it makes the overall conversation more positive, allows the team member to vent out whatever they have on the vent out is for a lack of better expression, but bring out whatever is there on the inside. Therefore, they empty their mind and then become more receptive to what you have to share. It creates a more positive environment. Some tips on feedback: show others how you give it and receive it. When giving feedback for both worked and stuck, share your observation, describe what they said and did, describe the impact the behavior had on others, make suggestions if appropriate. When receiving the feedback, say thank you and once you've sold, shut up is the golden rule. So once you've got the nuggets, keep them with you. Okay, no justification, no saying why. It actually is counterproductive to any feedback conversation. Breakthrough conversation. What's the goal? To support progress. Opportunities for breakthrough conversations is when team members ask, do you have a minute? I need to speak with you. I would like your perspective on something that I'm doing. Actually, I'm feeling a little, these are some of the points where you sense and pick up opportunities for breakthrough conversation. So breakthrough conversations, the model that we leverage on is a gold standard in decision making and problem solving. I'm sure majority of us might have heard of this. It's called GROW model, whereas you have goal, reality, options, and way forward. So we delve a lot more if you were to attend our one-day session, which is about 6 to 7 hours, 6 hours now online, where we talk a lot more on what you see in the center of this. So we all know that people are hired to perform, but not all people are performing as per a certain desired level. So obviously there is something more than the knowledge. And that something more that moves the wheel of knowledge is what we call as faith, fire, focus. Now, how is the faith, fire, focus, and knowledge interlinked, and where does a GROW model play a role? For that, we would invite you for a more detailed session. But to whet your appetite for now, goal starts with setting what would you want out of this conversation. On what you need to discuss, where do you stand today? What all have you done so far in terms of moving towards your goal? What are the other options available to you? Having discussed this, what are the 1 or 2 steps that we want to take as way forward? That's a typical GROW conversation. For what takes 1 hour, I have shared it with you in under 60 seconds. So obviously, a session would do a lot more justice to it. How do you use GROW? Clarify the goal conversation, get a sense of current state of performance, explore every idea without judgment until all ideas are on the table. And this is where typically we tend to, go the other way, where from goal, we move straight away to way forward, or goal, we move to straight away options, back to reality, then back to option and way forward. So it becomes like more of a noodle brain going back and forth. Whereas a good way to use GROW is have a GROW conversation, dwell, look at reality, get into all the options possible, move in a sequence without going back and forth, and then decide what should be the way forward. Let's look at a sample GROW conversation.
Hey, Greg, thanks for taking time to chat with me.
Not a problem. What would you like from this conversation?
Well, I don't have a ton of time because we're headed out here in a minute, but I have a status update tomorrow, and I need to come up with a plan for bandwidth project workload. I have a lot on my plate, and I'm not able to deliver on time, and my energy is draining.
Okay, what's been happening?
Well, as you know, we get a lot of projects on our team, and it seems like everything has a higher priority. And we're getting a lot of external requests that also have very high priority. So I'm not able to manage all the requests and get the deliverables completed on time.
Yeah, it sounds like because of the amount and the priority of the projects, it sounds like you're overloaded. Is that correct?
Totally.
So if anything were possible, what might you do to create a plan to work through that?
I'd probably delete half the projects.
If only.
Yeah, okay. I would probably stop and assess the projects that we have and really look at their priorities. Are they all really high priorities, or can some of those be adjusted?
Okay. What else might you do?
I think it might be wise to talk to our team and just talk about bandwidth. Are there any people on the team that might be able to take on a couple of my projects and free me up a little bit? And that's probably, those 2 things are probably a great starting point.
Would you like a suggestion for me?
Yeah, totally.
You might just look at the meetings on your schedule and see which are not essential.
That's a good point. Thank you.
So, of the things we've talked about, you mentioned prioritizing the projects we have, working with our team to figure out who has bandwidth. And then I also added a third with just assessing your meetings. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, totally.
So what and when are your next steps?
So I obviously can't have conversations today, but I think the first thing I would do is look at our projects and assess priorities and discuss with people if they need to be adjusted. And then talk with the team and figure out who has bandwidth to take on a few of my projects. I would do that first thing in the morning so that I would be prepared to give that information at my status update meeting tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. What do you need from me?
I don't think anything. I think it's a solid plan.
Great. I'm glad to help.
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg.
Yep. Thanks, Bethany. I'll check in tomorrow.
All right, quick responses in the chat box. Is that conversation practical? Can we have it with our team members? Do we see being able to replicate? So my question is that conversation practical? Can we have it? Yes, no. Then I'll build a little more upon opportunities for such conversations. Very often, team members come to us with small issues, which may appear to be very trivial to us. And the next immediate thing we tend to give in is instant responses to say how you can go back and solve this particular problem and what you need to do. Very typical leadership tendency versus an invite in virtual coaching where you get into a dialogue with the team member, asking few simple questions so that they discover the simple, whatever the team member starts giving excuses, but Nilesh, I would invite you to take the car to Himalayan car rally after you've used it for 100 kilometers or 1000 kilometers. What happens is when we look at the new skilling, we tend to take it to where it would possibly meet with a challenge. If you attend a full day workshop, I can answer that. On a webinar, I can take it to what are the low hangings. Not everybody would want to give excuses. There are a few who do that. And of course, they can be dealt with through this conversation as well. But first, during this limited time, I invite you to look at A, is it doable? B, can I take it to maximum of my conversations, if not 100%? C, how can I spot the opportunity for these conversations? D, what are the tools I can pick up from what is happening here in the webinar, which I can go back and apply? So GROW model is a great way to get into a conversation. An employee feels really unstuck if they are able to see the reality themselves rather than relive the reality that we have lived and we provide them as a leadership prescriptive solution, which is a typical tendency for a leader. So the power of GROW conversations is it helps and enables employees to discover the next step themselves. Remember, people are what they are because of what they know, not because of what they don't. And they are fully capable to solve their problems. It is just that they need to feel safe enough to come up with solutions and they need the leader to bring out the best in them. There cannot be a better service to your team member than making it safe for them themselves to explore what they already have inside of them. The challenge with people is not what they don't know. The challenge is what do they do with what they know. And there lies the leadership skill that people are already great. It is on the leader to bring out that greatness. And in virtual conversations, breakthrough mode is one very serious mode which enables you to do that. Consider sending questions in advance. So you could save time on that. Explain what you are doing. Meet the coachee where they are in terms of their learning curve, in terms of their knowledge curve. So that's breakthrough conversation, enabling them towards where they are getting stuck, where they are wanting to move forward to their goal. There is also a GROW on the go where we invite you not to stick to the goal questions that you saw, but you can have your own goal questions. What do you want? What's been happening so far? What might you want to do? So what are your options? And how and when will you do that? That's called GROW on the go. We, again, in the workshop, we get you to practice the entire piece so you master this conversation. Alignment conversation. It typically is when team members need to be aligned back to the organizational objective or organizational goal because there are, due to interferences, chances that they might drift onto a different direction and need to be brought back. Again, goal is used because an individual started off with the team, but because of an interference, they got disaligned and they need to be brought back. And once brought back, they move back into the alignment mode of conversation. You'll see an example of a live alignment conversation.
Hey, Bethany, thanks so much for hopping on a quick call.
Sure.
I just got out of a meeting and I'd love your help on figuring out how to move forward with our website redesign project.
Oh, what's up with that project?
Well, our budget request has been denied, and that means we're going to have to figure out how to finish the last two phases internally.
Oh my gosh, Greg. Does that mean we're going to completely change the launch schedule? Because I don't see how that's even going to be possible.
We're not going to be able to push it back, and we still need to find a way to launch on time. We just need to do it with the resources we have.
Craig, the amount of projects that we have running simultaneously, there is no way, let alone the team. We are so understaffed to be able to bring that in-house.
I understand the frustration. It sounds like you're worried about the number of projects on the team, as well as just the low number of team members we have in order to be able to get this out the door. Is that correct?
Yeah, and beyond that, it's like we don't have the capacity nor the capability to bring that in-house, which is why we talked about outsourcing it in the first place. This is ridiculous.
Okay. So you're also concerned that we might not even be able to do this in-house with the team that we have. And I hear that you've also got a concern with our capacity and capability. Is that everything?
Yeah, and I feel like that's not new.
I understand that. When we started this year and we met as a marketing team, we all agreed that this was the best thing we could do to help the company move forward by focusing on this website. I still feel like that's the case. This hasn't changed for me. Has it changed for you?
No, I think it's still the right thing to focus on, but the game's changed, Greg, so I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Okay. So you agree that we still need to do it, but you don't think it's feasible.
Totally.
You may be right. And all I'm asking for is just for us to test and look at our assumptions to see what can and can't be done. Will you work with me on that?
Yeah, I'm willing to have a conversation. I think this is going to be rough, but sure.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and send out an invite and we can begin discussions.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Bethany.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so quickly I'll come on to core 4. We already saw how the conversation went, pretty self-explanatory. And let's look at when do we need to gain alignment with a team member. Here is my next poll for that. And I hope it's visible on your screens. When have you needed to gain alignment or agreement with a team member? Get an agreement to change circumstances or direction, set expectations, address a gap in performance, address relationship problem with others. Can I invite your responses, please? Get an agreement, set expectations, address performance gaps and behaviors. So Lish had talked about ifs and buts. And ifs and buts is the first sense of spotting an opportunity which may require an alignment conversation. Right, thank you everyone. Just giving it another minute. And then we close the poll and share the results with you. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so most of us already close have said 2 areas, which is gain an agreement or change, and address gaps in performance on behavior. Okay, so pretty much common at the workplace. And in fact, as you experience this conversation, live during a session, you would see the power of putting a structure to it. What happens is number of times when we have an especially alignment conversation, what we tend to miss out is the three important P's, which is plan, prepare, practice. We mentally prepare ourselves, but actually on paper, we have a broad plan as to what I want to achieve, and we never practice it. And that takes a toll on alignment conversation. The higher is the challenge in environment, the higher we are prone to taking it to a different direction, because we also tend to carry our own interferences to the alignment conversation. And guess what? Not being planned, prepared, and practiced happens, it creates the whole fabric of conversation to fall down. And instead of gaining alignment, we end up gaining somebody who's up in arms against, and you don't get the desired outcome. And next time onwards, we find it even more difficult to come to a table. The alignment conversation, when done out of a complete process, can make a huge difference. Now, this comes in extremely handy when the platform tends to be virtual. Because one-to-one, I can still manage my body language, emotions, but in a virtual, the structure is extremely user-friendly, and you're able to gain a commitment on a common way of moving forward and looking at the challenge. These are some of the formats that you use in a day-long session, and then they are part of the handbook that you get in order to use them at your workplace, which is Grow Sheet. How do you hold a complete Grow conversation? You get a Grow Recall card, Grow on the Go, coaching routine back at the workplace, and of course, conversation planner and quick check-in questions. That's a part of the complete package. Few quick questions, for the last poll, which is about running time, and I put more time on the concepts. So I will take lesser time on the part which requires us to be with the poll. And there you go. I will share any questions that you have. Please put them in the chat box so Ranjit can take that. And I'll be around beyond the session time as well to take those questions. We have these sessions coming up. Transform managers as performance coaches on the 20th of May. And we have another Train the Trainer, because that's how you take the program on the inside of organization, coming up on 21st and 22nd. So 20th, you attend one day, 21st, 22nd, we get certified. It's a 3-day time investment. You can write to Ranjit at byld.co.in for more details. And sorry. Ranjit, any questions we have?
Yeah, there was one question from Diju, and the question is, with so much uncertainty and negativity around, how do we keep the team members focused and positive?
Okay, so while I do that, I invite people to also share your responses on this poll, which helps us to continuously improve our services, our offerings, and content. I would really appreciate your participation on this one. Yeah, so Ranjit, once again, if I understand correctly, is how do you, in so much of clutter, tend to get team members to stay focused? Is that what the question was?
That's right. How do we keep them motivated in this negative environment or negative thought process?
So, well, this may sound very, very prescriptive or textbook, but that is the real thing. See, the whole idea in this session that we talked about, the key leaders' ability to bring in and tap into faith, fire, focus. If we look at most of the times in our lives when we have been focused, nothing has been able to take our attention away. It's that sole single-minded approach. And I keep giving an example that, let's say you have a very important job interview at Churchgate and you get down on a crowded peak hours, or I'm assuming people are familiar with Churchgate station in Mumbai, not of Churchgate of today during COVID, but pre-COVID, peak hours you get down and you have to go to Nariman Point. If you have an appointment that's going to get you and land you at your dream job, none of the crowd bothers you. None of the heat bothers you. Cab not being available doesn't bother you, but you're focused on getting there on time because that's what really means a lot to you. Okay? Similarly, for team members, if their focus is there, which is through a breakthrough conversation, and you have continuous and regular check-in conversations and feedback conversations, this whole package of 4 different types of conversations is an amazing tool what I can assure you with experience is a given low-hanging 10 to 12% performance improvement and output improvement in your team members. And rest, of course, is how does the overall piece complement that you would see that it brings in value for the organization. So I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yeah. Yeah, there is another question from Mr. Natraj. What do you think about increasing learners' isolation? Now, this is with regard to isolation. Mr. Natraj, if you can explain a little bit more.
You mean during COVID times?
Yes.
Okay. So what one of my suggestions, this is again, I think, thinking on my feet, giving you an answer. One thing that we do is in our teams, we have split the day, 70% interaction on new clients, 20% with old clients, 10% on self-development. And every Friday, each individual from the team is picked up to share their PowerPoint presentation on what did they learn in their self-development agenda for the week. And the whole team then listens to that particular individual, and PPT is archived for anyone who wants to access. That's a simple best practice from our end, what we do internally to keep people engaged. Other things that we see in the environment are snippets, which are duration of 1 to 3 minutes that keep coming in from our partners abroad, from our senior leadership on the inside, where learnings related to the current context are shared with team members. We also have created a format where big wins are shared across at a group level for people to know what is really happening and what was behind the scene in form of a little case study that in spite of working from home and these challenges that came up, so all that is put together in not more than 500 words and shared internally, and chances of that being read being higher because people tend to see value because it's happened around them, they're able to connect and then they're able to pick up value from that.
Yeah.
I hope that answers it.
Yeah. Adequately enough.
We have another question from Mr. Balakrishnan. It talks about how do we get alignment with new joinees during the COVID times, and how do we mingle them with other people, because obviously they are working in a virtual environment. It's difficult to mingle them. Obviously physically we can't do. What else can we do?
So one of the best things on joining I would invite is a breakthrough conversation, because that's that time where employee is wanting to give their best and put their best foot forward. Ideal time for a breakthrough conversation is enabling a new team member when he joins the team. As far as intermingling is concerned, one is through inducting in your routine team meetings. The other is that I say that, people take up virtual projects. So we have projects which work on account history, which work on doing data mining. Of course, business to business, there could be different projects. Like for us, it's very important to have background on client before we go and pitch for business. So we have a focus account list which our team works on. And these are virtual teams which don't report to any single individual, but are part of different business teams which has been brought together. And they focus on certain select accounts which they have put together, which involves them a whole lot of interaction, a lot of data crunching, a lot of data mining as well, and then coming back to the information, which gives them a great opportunity to learn about each other's skills and then count and fall back on those skills when they are onto some other project. So those are some of the things that we do and have been to be very helpful.
Okay, thank you, Anand. Thank you. Thank you, Balakrishnan, for your question. Now, another question which I've got from Mr. Ramalingam, and it's related to, is this right time to give technical or motivational training during this time, COVID time? Is it panic time as per Mr. Ramalingam?
One thing is, as a business, as it depends what state of the current business and where is the focus, what are the projects that you're really working on. So timing of input depends on timing of application. Are they going to apply that skill of technicality right now? Then sure, there is no better time than that. But if that's a skill that we feel that's going to go and rest in the subconscious memory to be activated when desired, perhaps may not be the best time. As far as motivational training is concerned, I think it's very important. People will find it, not everybody's emotional quotient would be to adapt to the change at ease, and they would have their set of challenges. So more than motivation, I would call and invite you to look at a program on resilience, which enables them people both head and heart combination. Head to explore through assessment, where do they stand on the 7 resilience factors, and heart, how do they engage around those resilience factors to make themselves more resilient and face the changing times. Let me also share with you that majority of the changes they haven't even seen as yet. This is just a 40-day lockdown. New normal will require us to adapt to change like never before. Never before. And that is going to be the biggest challenge that is going to be in hands of L&D and HR as to how do they create an ecosystem, what are the tools that they provide, what is the motivation that they provide. All performance levers will need to work in one common direction of enabling people to change and sustain that change. And that's going to be a big ask.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Anand. It's Balasundaram Ramalingam. Thank you so much. Yes.
Welcome.
Any other question, if you have, please feel free to ask, unmute yourself and you can ask, or please type in over here. And if there are no questions, you have my mail ID. You can feel free to write those questions and we'll see if we can get back to you on that. So my ID is in the chat box. Please feel free to write, connect.
Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe.